Now, the debate and political battle over Israel's possible annexation of West Bank settlements, which was supposed to start tomorrow, is heating up. And it's not just here, but in Washington as well. The gauntlet was thrown down by a letter circulated by progressive Democratic Congresswoman Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez. It's garnered a dozen signatures, and it warns that should the Israeli government move forward with the planned annexation with this administration's acquiescence, we will work to ensure non-recognition, as well as pursue conditions on the $3.8 billion in U.S. military funding to Israel. Now, of course, that latter point is at odds with most other Congress members, including in her own party. And now the pro-Israel lobby AIPAC has responded. AIPAC opposes the letter being circulated by Representative Ocasio-Cortez, which explicitly threatens the U.S.-Israel relationship in ways that would damage American interests, risk the security of Israel, and make a two-state solution less likely. The overwhelming majority of Democrats and Republicans in Congress and across the country agree that America is best served when we stand with Israel. Well, joining us now for more is Harley Lippman. He's a national council member of AIPAC and the board president emeritus of the Institute for the Study of Global Anti-Semitism and Policy, and he joins us from Miami. And Harley, certainly AIPAC is right. The majority of congressional representatives disagree with the stand of Ocasio-Cortez. But how concerning should it be to AIPAC, for example, and maybe to Israel, that she is a growing significant factor in Congress advocating a position that usually has been seen just on the fringes of certainly even the Congress and even the Democratic Party?
Well, I saw the letter this morning. There were only, I think, 8 or 9 signatures. I'd be surprised if she got more than 12. And remember, there are 435 members of the House. So keep that in mind. She really represents a marginal fringe of the Democratic Party. But I think what's more significant is that moderate Democratic leaders are voicing great concern and disappointment if the annexation goes forward. And when you think about it, the Israeli left is against annexation, European leaders are against it, the Democratic Party, by and large, is against annexation. Basically, everybody in the world is. Our friends in the Persian Gulf, countries that Netanyahu has succeeded in building a closer relationship with, have been very outspoken against it. The UAE ambassador to the United States wrote an open letter, I think it was in Yediot Ahronot, very strong and very compelling against annexation. So when you look at annexation, it's largely symbolic. It's not going to change anything for the people living there. And it's a lot of risk, and the gain is unclear. So people are kind of scratching their heads why this needs to go forward now. And of course, the obvious answer is that Netanyahu has a good relationship with Trump. And given that he's concerned that if Trump loses the election in November, he's not going to have that support from Biden. So he's trying to enhance Israel's security.
Harley, let's look at the other side of that, because given if one looks at the most recent polls that show there could be a change, and of course these polls could change or be wrong, could be a change in November, and have an administration that feels very differently about the annexation issue. Are you saying that is something the Israeli government should take into account as one of its considerations as it weighs this annexation issue?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think that's important, but take it into account if it's going to benefit Israel, if it's going to benefit the U.S.-Israel relationship. A lot of people are asking me, I was on the phone today with people in the House and the Senate, Democratic and Republican senatorial leaders. And while the Republicans are largely supportive, Democrats who have been very supportive of Israel have voiced great concern and are against the annexation. And they are unhappy with it. They feel that it could destabilize Jordan. You know, the Jordanian prime minister has said that if you do this and you don't give citizenship, which Netanyahu has said recently, will not give citizenship to the Palestinians in the areas that he intends to annex, the Jordanian prime minister said this is apartheid. And that's going to just make things for Israel so much more difficult all around the world, and in particular in the United States, where the U.S.-Israel relationship is paramount.
Well, let me ask you about that, because as you said, Representative Ocasio-Cortez is more certainly on, I guess, a fringe on the of her party. It's actually a dozen signatures that she's gathered, which is still a very small percentage. But could that movement, that side of the progressive wing that she represents, in effect, get a little wind in their sails, or say ammunition, if Israel moves ahead with the annexation process in the face of international opposition?
Well, the problem is things like this empower people like her. So that's the problem. But I think that ultimately what makes the Israel-U.S. relationship strong is so powerful and fundamental. It speaks to the security of the United States and Israel. It speaks to thwarting Iran. It speaks to keeping peace in the region. The huge exchange that Israel and the United States has on intelligence matters, military equipment, training, cybersecurity. And we have common, it's a democratic ally. I mean, you know all these things. So these themes are so strong that even if Israel and the United States disagree, I don't believe it will fundamentally change the relationship, but it may begin to erode some support that could be critical. And I think that after listening to especially Democratic leaders today in the Senate, I was taken aback by how strongly they were against annexation. Among their other arguments is that this could bring out a new intifada, that this is going to galvanize Hamas, that Hamas has been very disciplined in their messaging. They've been saying this is why Oslo doesn't work, this doesn't work, right. Peace do not work. The only thing Israel understands is violence. So on almost every measurable level, they just don't see a gain for Israel. And they're scratching their heads as to why Israel would do something that they think could be reckless and even irresponsible.
All right, well, let's see if the Israeli government is weighing those words. Presumably they're also in contact with these same sources in Washington. Harley Lippman, thanks for joining us on The Run now.